Changing your concept of yourself. Display quote: "Health, wealth, beauty, and genius are not created. They are only manifested by the arrangement of your mind. That is by your concept of yourself. And your concept of yourself is all that you accept and consent to as true." That's by Neville. There's a level of awareness available to you that you are probably unfamiliar with. It extends upward and transcends the ordinary level of consciousness that you're most accustomed to. At this higher plane of existence, which you and every human being who has ever lived can access at will, the fulfillment of wishes is not only probable, it is guaranteed. This chapter is simply a preparation for entering into that realm, wherein you have much more say over what comes into your life than you might have envisioned. After 18 months in relative seclusion, studying, meditating, and literally experiencing what it's like to live in this miraculous plane of existence, beyond anything that might be labeled ordinary or normal, I've undertaken this joyous task of writing about having wishes fulfilled. I've seen firsthand how virtually every wish or desire I've placed my attention on has transformed from a mental thought into an objective fact. However, I'm not proposing memorizing an esoteric formula leading to a theoretical nirvana. My emphasis throughout this book is that manifestation is real, and that it occurs when you make a specific decision to change your mind about who you are and what is possible for you to achieve within these parentheses in eternity called your life. I'm inviting you to be receptive to a radical new idea about yourself. It's radical because ever since you left your mother's womb, you've been subjected to cultural conditioning designed to help you be content with living a normal life at the level of ordinary consciousness, which generally means accepting whatever life hands you. In many ways, you've been programmed to believe that you do not possess the wisdom or the ability to manifest the fulfillment of your wishes and desires. I am saying as clear as I know how to say in these opening pages, there's a plane of awareness that you can opt to live at, wherein you can, if you are willing to change your concept of yourself as an ordinary being, find yourself fulfilling any and all wishes that you have for yourself. Throughout this book, I'll explore with you what I've studied and learned and internalized and practiced and, yes, lived regarding the powers of manifestation. It begins with changing your concept of yourself. I would like to offer a few words on these two concepts of ordinary and extraordinary. Ordinary is, well, it's just so ordinary. It means that you do all the things that your culture and your family have programmed you to do. It implies that you fit in, that you study hard, that you follow the rules, that you take care of your obligations, that you fill out the forms, and you pay your taxes, and you get a job, and do what every law-abiding citizen does, and then you retire, and you play with your grandchildren, and ultimately you die. I want to emphasize that there is absolutely nothing wrong with this scenario. It is perfectly fine, but if it were completely acceptable to you, you wouldn't be listening to this book. Extraordinary encompasses most of ordinary, since we all live in the same physical world. There will always be forms to fill out and rules that demand our obedience and bills to pay and family obligations to attend to. But extraordinary consciousness is associated with your soul, that invisible, boundaryless energy that looks out from behind your eyeballs and has very different interests than your ordinary self does. The ideal of your soul, the thing that it yearns for, is not more knowledge. It is not interested in comparison or winning or light or ownership and not even happiness. The ideal of your soul is space, expansion, and immensity. And the one thing it needs more than anything else is to be free to expand, to reach out, and to embrace the infinite. Why? Because your soul is infinity itself. It has no restrictions or limitations. It resists being fenced in, and when you attempt to contain it with rules and obligations, it is miserable. Your invisible self is extraordinary because it is a fragment of the universal soul, which itself is infinite. The part of you that knows you have greatness and is stirred by the idea of you expanding and removing any and all limitations is what I'm addressing here in Wishes Fulfilled. This is your new self-concept, one that is inspired by your soul. So let's take a look at this idea and then examine what you need to do in order to make your self-concept congruent with how you want to live your life, and the powerful role you can begin to assume as a co-fulfiller of all of your rational, sensible wishes and desires. So what is your self-concept? Simply put, your concept of yourself is everything that you believe to be true. And everything that you believe to be true about yourself has landed you precisely where you live and breathe every day of your life. Your beliefs about yourself are like the ingredients in a recipe that you use to create your self-concept. Those ingredients or beliefs fall into two specific categories: your outer self-concept and your inner self-concept. Your outer self-concept. These ingredients include everything you accept as truth concerning what the physical you is capable of, and there's probably a certain amount of intellectual acumen that you agree is necessary to your outer self-concept. Smart, perhaps, but not really a genius. More capable in some areas than others, such as technological knowledge. Maybe you add a measure of writing ability, but detect more fluency with numbers and mathematical problem solving than your ability to write prose. Your beliefs about your outer self may be well seasoned and strong in some areas and almost hopelessly incapacitated or weak in others. You very likely have a conceptual framework of just how smart you are and have carried that belief with you since you were a youngster in elementary school. Your outer concept of yourself includes everything you believe about your innate and learned talents and abilities. Your beliefs about your clumsiness, your coordination, your athleticism, your musical and artistic talents. These are all a partial list of the ingredients that comprise the recipe that is you. These descriptors also apply to everything else about your outer self. Your outer self-concept includes how you view yourself in relationship to health, your immunity to or inclination toward illnesses of all descriptions. You know if you are prone to being overweight or addicted to various substances such as sugar, caffeine, fat, meat, dairy, and the like. You define yourself as prone to catching colds or immune to such things, likely to gain weight, inclined toward skin rashes, or predisposed to low energy or high sleep requirements. The point is that your outer self-concept comprises essentially everything that you believe your body is capable or incapable of. Given a true-false test on yourself, you'd be able to say with certainty, yes, these things are true about me. They are the beliefs, the ingredients that you use to create you. In addition to your intellect, talents, and physical body traits, you spice up your outer self-conception with your personality traits. You know if you're assertive or shy, loud or quiet, pushy or obsequious, fearful or courageous, daring or frightened, and this is only a partial list of personality descriptors or spices. These individual qualities are interpreted as truisms defining yourself and how you function socially. I could continue detailing all of the other ingredients that go into making your outer self-concept, but I've chosen to keep this book short, succinct, and to the point. At this point, I'm simply encouraging you to recognize that your self-concept contains a myriad of self-descriptors regarding this thing that you call your physical body, and that you probably regard them as absolute truth. Your inner self-concept. This category can be pretty difficult to achieve in optimal proportions in our culture. Your inner self-concept involves your beliefs about the invisible energy and intelligence that is the most significant portion of your being. I've often referred to your inner world as the ghost in the machine. The machine, in my conceptualization, is your body and its 5 senses, as well as all of the physical components that make up your body: the tissue, the bones, the rivers of fluids, the organs, the teeth, the brain, and everything else are all this machine, and within this machine is an invisible eye that you call mind or spirit, comprised of thoughts that direct the machine. I once had a conversation with a neurosurgeon who was disputing the presence of this invisible world by saying that he'd cut into thousands of bodies and had never seen a soul. I remember his awkward look when I asked him if he'd ever seen a thought while he was poking around inside of a brain. Obviously, there's an invisible inner as well as an outer part of your being,